The sun has dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the landscape. You stand at the edge of a dense forest, the scent of pine and damp earth filling the air. The wind whispers through the branches, carrying an unsettling hum that seems more alive than the creatures it houses. This is the beginning of your retreat, a chance to escape the noise of the world and find solace in the quiet embrace of nature. You turn away from the forest edge and make your way up the gravel path toward the cabin, a weathered structure that has stood resolute against the passage of time, cradled between rustling trees and the encroaching dusk. As you step onto the porch, the wood creaks beneath your weight, a nostalgic sound that seems to echo your very thoughts. The cabin had belonged to your grandfather, a man of few words who had loved the wilds and all its mysteries. He had passed just a year prior, and now this place stood as a memorial to both his memory and your longing to escape the mundane. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the crisp, cool air. This would be your sanctuary, a place where you can think, reflect, and perhaps even heal. Inside, the air is still, thick with the smell of old wood and dust. You set down your bag and look around. The furnishings are as you remembered. The faded floral couch, a sturdy table where your grandfather once sat, scribbling notes in weathered journals. It feels strangely heavy with the weight of his presence, as if the very walls themselves are holding on to memories you had long forgotten. You move to the window, pulling back the threadbare curtains to peek outside. The last remnants of daylight fade rapidly, the sky turning a deep indigo as stars begin to prick the velvety surface above. The forest, once inviting, now looms darkly, a maze of shadow and silence. You shake the creeping feeling of discomfort from your spine, attributing it to the loneliness that always seems more profound in the stillness of the night. As you prepare for your evening, you search through the cupboards for supplies, taking inventory of what your grandfather had left. Canned goods, a dusty box of dry pasta, preserved fruits, all simple provisions that can sustain you for a few days. While rummaging, your fingers brush against something unexpected, cool and metallic beneath a layer of dust. You lift it out, an old tin box, its surface marred by years, still holding a faint gleam beneath the grime. Curiosity piqued, you pry it open with your thumb, heart pounding a bit faster. Inside, you find a collection of faded photographs, their corners curling as if resisting the passage of time. They depict a familiar face. You can hardly believe your eyes. It's your grandfather, standing in front of the very cabin you now occupy. Yet, the images around him are unsettling. Strange figures linger at the edges of the photographs, shrouded in shadow, their features obscured and distances blurred. You grasp the photos, turning them over, but there are no notes, no explanations. Whatever this was, it felt wrong. The evening stretches on as you lose yourself in the photos, trying to absorb your grandfather's life through those fading moments. A storm begins to brew outside, causing the wind to howl through the trees. With each gust, the cabin creaks and groans, as if expressing its own unease. You push the unnerving sensations deep down, reminding yourself that memories are often more complex than you recall, threaded with emotions that can twist on the dark edges of nostalgia. You eventually retire to the couch, drawing a blanket around your shoulders, but sleep is hesitant to come. Instead, you find your eyes drifting to the window, transfixed by the storm and shadows that swirl outside. The flickering of lightning briefly illuminates the forest, revealing shapes moving in the blackness. Just trees, you tell yourself, just shadows. The sound of the rain pelting the roof is insistent, drumming against your thoughts, drowning quieter fears. Eventually, you doze off, but your dreams are anything but restful. You see your grandfather standing at the edge of the forest, calling out for you, his voice low and urgent. But as you rush toward him, the trees seem to shift, enclosing him in darkness. You reach out, but he vanishes before you can touch him, and the emptiness gnaws at your soul. You wake with a start, heart racing, drenched in a cold sweat. The storm has waned, but the forest is still nothing but dense silences and whispers. You could swear you hear something, a distant sound, like a voice, or perhaps a murmur carried by the gentle breeze. You strain your ears, but as quickly as it arrives, it fades into the soft rustling of the leaves. The sensation of being watched feels more pressing now, an electric charge against your skin. Deciding to shake off the unease, you choose to explore the small nooks of the cabin in search of distractions. You find a small door at the end of a narrow hallway, partially ajar and dusty, its surface chipped and worn. You had never noticed it before. Peering inside, you discover a tight little attic space, cluttered with forgotten furniture and boxes piled high. A beam of light from your flashlight reveals a collection of old books in a corner. You brush your fingers along their spines, feeling a strange pull toward an ancient-looking tome, its leather binding cracked and peeling. As you lift it from the stack, a chill runs down your spine. You flip through the pages, the ink faded and nearly illegible, filled with strange diagrams and symbols, an unsettling mixture of nature and arithmetic, geometry that twists and bends. Your breath hitches as you realize it's not just your grandfather's handwriting, but a ledger of his thoughts and findings. Speculations about the forest, the things he believed lurked in its depths. There are pages filled with sketches of those same shadowy figures in the photographs, each accompanied by alarming notes about their behavior. It speaks of rituals and incantations, coded messages to communicate with the unseen. You feel as though the room is closing in on you, shadowy corners creeping closer, as anxiety and disbelief mingle in your chest. Your grandfather had long been the reliable anchor in your life, a man of science and factual reason, yet here lies a contradictory portrait of a man who seems to have danced playfully with the arcane. You slam the book shut, trembling at the implications. All at once, the whispers of the forest return, stronger now, more defined. They feel less like rustling leaves, and more like a cacophony of murmured voices, the kind that lurks just beyond the edges of auditory clarity, tugging at your consciousness. You step back towards the attic door, heart thundering, the warmth of sunlight having abandoned the cabin entirely in favor of a chilling dread. The atmosphere thickens, pressing against your chest, your mind racing with fear and wild speculation. You decide to break the mounting tension with a walk through the woods, hoping fresh air will clear your thoughts. After donning boots and layered clothing, you step outside. The day has turned unnaturally grey, the clouds hang low and heavy, and the forest seems darker than before, the trees looming ominously. As you navigate the trail, your senses sharpen. Every snap of a twig, every gust of wind carries a resonance of something ancient. The air is thick with an energy that feels almost sentient, reflecting something from your grandfather's book. You shake your head, dismissing the superstitious thoughts, and focus on putting one foot in front of the other. The forest envelops you, its stillness somehow deafening. You reclaim each breath, trying to pull your mind back to memories of your grandfather inspecting the flora, pointing out edible plants and poisonous ones. Yet, even those warm recollections are tainted with the unsettling shadows of the photos and the book's eccentric sketches. You recall how he had forbidden you to wander too far into the woods alone. He always had stories of the things that lurked just outside the safety of paths. As you walk deeper, the trail grows less defined, almost as if the forest conspires to obscure your way. You realize with a jolt that you've strayed far from where you intended to go. Panic flares in your chest, and for a fleeting moment, the whispers from before claw at your senses, echoing through the trees. You turn, desperate to find your bearings, the paranoia tightening around you like a vice. And then you see it, a clearing, bathed in a peculiar light, radiating an inexplicable energy that draws you inward. The air here feels charged with something alive, pulsing almost. You walk toward it, entranced by its bizarre allure. As you step into the clearing, your heart slows, the thrumming pulse of anxiety easing, entranced by peculiar symbols drawn into the earth, their shapes mirroring the diagrams from your grandfather's book. Your breath catches as you recognize the same shaded figures standing with twisted postures and ghastly facades, both terrifying and strangely ethereal. They appear to be watching you. A rush of realization hits you. This isn't just a figment of your imagination. Something is manifesting here, something woven into the fabric of your family history. Suddenly, the air shifts. The clearing feels alive, as if reacting to your presence. It beckons you deeper, drawing you away from the safety of your thoughts. The whispers morph into a cacophony, indistinguishable yet pooling together in a voice that feels familiar yet foreign. And that's when you hear it, a voice calling from the shadows, distinct and urgent. You shouldn't have come here. It carries the weight of your grandfather's presence, yet it pierces your heart with a different fear. You turn to run, but it's as if the trees themselves conspire to keep you here. The shadows stretch forward, tendrils reaching for you, merging with the shapes etched into the earth. Your thoughts become muddled, a swirl of disbelief and sheer terror propelling you forward, stumbling back towards the path you came. Breaths come in quick bursts as you race back, the distance to the cabin seeming to grow impossibly long. The dark trees cling tightly to you, the whispers rising to a fever pitch, as if urging you to turn back, to claim what it means to truly belong. You can feel an unseen force tugging at your heart, a longing to relinquish the burden of memory and embrace an otherworldly reprieve. You burst into the clearing where the cabin stands, but something's wrong. The atmosphere has shifted. There's a menacing stillness that chokes the air. The door swings ajar, creaking eerily against the silence. You hesitate at the threshold, paralyzed by a weighty sensation that suggests something has transformed within those walls. Courage summons you, and you push through the door. The cabin looks unchanged, yet where you once felt comfort, the air now thrums with palpable tension. You turn toward the photographs, spread out upon the table as if laid deliberately for you to see. Your grandfather's shadowy figures loom larger now, their ethereal eyes watching your every move. And as the shadow of a storm cloud rolls over the sun, darkness blankets the room. You reach for the photographs, but the room quakes as if the very foundation is unsettled by your touch. The echoes of whispered voices evolve into laughter, unnatural and chaotic, ensnaring your senses in their thrall. A flicker of motion in the corner draws your attention. The attic door swings slowly open, beckoning you to come forth, to confront that burgeoning horror. What lies beyond the threshold? You sense answers lie scattered in this strange interplay of light and shadow, but wisdom whispers truth, a truth that carries the weight of many generations. You step closer, peering into the attic, heart thrumming in your chest. The timber creaks beneath you, holding its breath as if it knows the weight of secrets hidden within. An indistinct form stands in the gloom, a silhouette just beyond the edge of sight, a presence that defies memory and existence, both familiar and alien, drawing you closer with an unspoken promise. You feel your world fracture, reality caught in the grip of dusk and dawn, as the shadows envelop you, leaving nothing but a lingering echo of uncertainty. The whispers fade to silence, but in that void, a question crystallizes, a question born of blood and legacy. Who are you in this tangled web scripted by your own flesh? Here, between the cabin and the shadows, waits the answer that is both a curse and a calling. And you know that soon enough, the forest will reclaim its echoes. But for you, the unraveling has just begun.